Hey, how y'all doing? This is KLA Clyde, the Wanderer, about to give it to you. I have a guest. Her name is Danielle Petze.
Pets, yeah.
Petze. What kind of name is that, if you don't mind me asking?
I believe it's German.
Huh?
I think it's German.
Oh, okay. I have an unusual last name too, so, mine's is Nuba. It's an African name and stuff, so.
Cool.
Yeah. So you from San Diego?
Yeah, that's where I live now. I was born in California, but a couple hours from here.
Oh. How is it? Is it kind of rough or you know?
I mean, San Diego's pretty chill. Like, I feel like, we were talking off air a little bit, but like, if you go to the downtown area, yeah, there can be some problems that you would see in any major city. But I live about 30 miles north of downtown, so it's a lot
Right.
of like families and chill around here. So
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Of course, I live in NYC. It's a bit. It's a bit similar, but you
yeah.
know. Mhm. So so how you got hooked into bodybuilding?
Eh, that's an interesting question. So when COVID first happened and all the gyms were shut down, everything was shut down, I put on a little bit of weight like everyone did. And prior to this, like I've always kind of lifted and I've been active, but I never considered competing or anything. And I was actually in this online Zoom course that was like encouraging us to do a challenge, to do something that was totally out of the ordinary. And someone had dared me basically or challenged me to do a bodybuilding show. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, I think this was February of when was COVID, 2021 or whatever.
2020.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
2020. You close enough.
Yeah, so then I was like, yeah, there's no way. Like I'm not getting on stage in front of people and like I'm way too chunky right now. I can't do that. And so I ended up finding a show that was in September. So it was like 7 months later. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure this thing out. I'm gonna take this challenge on. I'm gonna start losing weight, like try to get myself into shape. I picked the show. The show was in San Diego, and then I think maybe like 4 months before, I found a coach to help me with the posing and help me. I was like, I don't even know where to get a suit. You got to get heels. You got to get like all this kind of stuff that goes
Yeah,
with it. You have to sign up for tanning. Like there's like so many
yeah.
different things.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. People don't realize how much goes into it, especially for the females. Like we have hair and makeup and everything.
Yeah.
So I find this girl. Her name is Osiris. She's amazing. She's an IFBB pro, and I was just like, all right, we're going with her. Like we're gonna see what happens. And my first show, I think I got like third or fourth place or something. And I was like, all
Oh,
right, like that's not too bad for a first show. And so then I made it a goal to do it again a year later. So that was September. So then the following year in June, I got second place. And I was like, okay, we're getting, or no, I got third. We're getting a little bit closer to where I want to be. And so then, was it 2 shows ago? I did the June show in San Diego and I got first place overall. And I was like, okay, so first place gets you to go to nationals. And so Vegas nationals was July 27th through 29th. It was, I would end up 6 weeks later or something. So I was like, okay, my goal was just like, let's go to nationals. I'm probably not going to do that well. Like, this is like kind of the best of the amateurs that go. So I go to Vegas and I end up getting first place. And I'm like, what? So that got me my IFBB pro card. So I was planning on quitting after Vegas because doing 2 shows in a row is insane, but doing 3 is even crazier. But there's a pro show in Phoenix, Arizona in well, no, gosh, 3 weeks now that I was like, you know what? I got to just do one. Like, I'm already pretty lean. Like, I'm going to go do one pro show, see how it is. So that's where we're at. We're about 3 weeks away from that. And I'm just kind of excited to see what the pro show's like. So
yeah, but that's kind of amazing because
thank
I
you.
was reading about you, and it was like 2 years. You just started doing it 2 years, and I'm like, maybe that's a old something old or something. But I'm like, wow, you tell me since COVID, and
Well,
so
and that's what was crazy to me too. I was sitting down like looking at the calendar and I was like, wait. So I did June this year. We're in 2023. I did June last year. That was 2022. So September was 2021. I'm like, I've only
yeah,
done 3 shows plus nationals, and so I'm like, wow, that was pretty quick. That's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. So how I mean, like how like since I mean since your first competition, how what was the feeling like when you was like in front of people? Like I know you had to be nervous and
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny thing because I have no problem with interviews like this. I'm okay with public speaking. I get nervous, but I'll do it. If I'm in a group, like whatever, like all those things, I'm okay. But jumping on stage all by
yeah,
yourself, and then you gotta like do these poses, and then there's like hot lights, and everybody's staring at you, and there's loud music, and it's just like sensory overload, and it's like,
right,
okay, and then it's like, wait, smile, and like tense your muscles at the same time. And you're just like, So my
yeah,
first show was super scary. After the first one, though, I feel like everyone got a little easier. And the
right,
one in Vegas, it was funny. I was just like super chill. Some people do this. I don't know if I would recommend it. You got to know your body. But I actually had like a half a glass of wine right before I went on stage. So it's just like, okay, you're not buzzed or anything, but you like loosen up a little. And I just jumped on stage and I was like, whatever, like nothing was even scary. So we'll see what happens at the pro show. But
that's funny. I'm surprised you ain't smoke weed or anything like that.
a lot of competitors do. I personally, like, I don't have anything against weed, but I think I'm allergic to it. Like, I tried
Yeah,
doing some THC gummies a couple shows ago, and thankfully it wasn't the day before show. It was like a week before, so I was like testing them out. And I got like super red and like little bumps on my chest, and I'm like, gosh, I think I might actually be allergic to this. I don't know. So I haven't. I mean, maybe it was something in the gummy and had nothing to do with the weed. But a lot of
yeah,
competitors do smoke in their cars before they go on.
yeah, yeah. Back to getting your pro card. I mean, it takes people. It takes some people like 20 years or 15 years and 30 years, and you're just able to get it. I think that's a blessing for you. You know.
Thank you. I will say too, though, that like some of the categories, especially the men, have a ton of competitors. It's a lot more competitive for them. And then even the females, if you look at the bikini category or wellness category, because I'm women's physique, so I'm one of the smaller categories. So I don't want to like take that away from the fact that I got it, but at the same time, I will say that like my categories were a little bit smaller, so I didn't have as many people to compete against. But in Vegas, gosh, how many? I want to say there were 14 of us in Vegas, and I got first there. So there was still a decent amount, but it wasn't like you look at like bikini category and there's like 40.
Yeah, yeah. But you got it, because I remember like there was this bodybuilder I know. Her name is Hannah Hussein, and months ago she was gonna compete in some competition like a couple of months back, and she didn't get it because cause there wasn't like in her division she couldn't there wasn't not enough bodybuilders there. She's in bodybuilder division.
Oh yeah,
And
there's a
so
lot of times there's not. It's crazy.
yeah. And so she this recent one, I forgot the name of it, but this recent one, she got a pro card not too
Oh
long ago.
yay!
Yeah. So yeah, I was happy for her.
That's awesome. The women's bodybuilding, man, they're even bigger than me. It's pretty impressive seeing some of them.
Yeah. Would you want to move to another division?
So I did move actually. I was originally figure and I'm
Oh,
physique now. So figure, they told me, so I did both actually in the last San Diego show. I did figure and physique because I was like, well, I don't really know. Like my goal is to go to nationals. Let me just see like which one the judges like me better at. And so I did both and I won both of them, but there weren't very many women in there. So I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to do both in Vegas and see which one I got there. Now Vegas, I won women's physique, but women's figure was not the same. I think I got like, I don't know, like 14th out of 19 or something. It was pretty low. So I was
so
like, okay,
so
the
you
judges told me.
now I was just asking, so you double dip?
I did, and like I just was really curious which one they wanted
Yeah.
me in, to be honest. But they told me I was a little too big for figure, so I was like, okay, I guess we're doing women's physique.
Yeah. We got I guess Rolando G, hey, hey, Danielle, you look incredible, Danielle.
Thank you.
Congrats on your pro card. And he
Thank you.
also says, Danielle Petze is great. You are doing this interview. Is great, dude. I hope this can get other IFBB pros on the show. A lot of men appreciate. Well, it's up
Thank
to
you.
them, Rolando. But I appreciate the love, man. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah, thanks, man.
supporting me. Yeah. And but I don't want to. I got a little stumble a little bit. Like, how would you educate somebody that don't know about bodybuilding? Because
Oof.
bodybuilding it's not like it ain't like basketball, football.
Right. So, so many people, though, like the most common thing I get, like if people come up to me at the gym or something and maybe they don't know a lot, but they see me there and they're like, oh, I could never do that. And I want to say, first of all, don't ever say never because anything is possible if it's what you want. If it's not what you want, like, cool. But if you want to do it, you can. Is it hard? Absolutely. But as
Right.
far as like, gosh, like I think the discipline is the hardest thing because it's for so long. It's not like you're like, oh, I'm gonna go, on this mini diet because summer's coming and I want to lose 10 pounds or something. It's like, whatever. No, this is like I have a show coming up, and for me, like I'm not gonna let myself look stupid on stage. So like I gotta make sure I look good for that. So it's like every single day, and just it doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you got work to do. It's like for me, like I get up at like 5 in the morning, and then I go to the gym. I do fasted cardio. I bring a little snack with me. I eat that. Then I lift. And this close to show, I'm doing 2 times cardio a day, except for Sunday. Those are my off days. So this is great. But, and then I go back and do another like 45 minutes of cardio in the afternoon. And so it's like, not only the time are you in the gym, but that can take away from your life. So if you have like kids or you have a hefty job or whatever, it's a lot, but then it's the stress on top of it. And then you got to meal prep for the whole thing. And then it's like, I mean, I regularly get blood tests to make sure everything's okay. And if it's not, do I need to take a supplement for that? Or, there's a lot of things that start to come into it that I don't think people realize. But really, I just think if anybody's determined and they have the discipline to do anything in life, you can. It's just like, I feel like you could maybe relate it a little to the military. I've never been in the military, but I have a lot of friends that are here in San Diego. And just that discipline of like waking up every single morning and have a regimented day kind of falls into that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is like a discipline. It's not very easy. I don't think I would be able to do it. I mean, I'll do a spirit. I'm in a spiritual discipline. I could say,
That's cool.
but like, yeah, but me just doing bodybuilding, like, nah. I think like the close I've done maybe is calisthenics, and
Uh-huh.
that's it.
But that
Yeah,
spiritual discipline though, man, that's admirable. Like that's something that I think more people should have. And if, you're waking up and you have this daily practice, like get your head straight. I mean, that's something
yeah,
I incorporate into my day as well. Cause if I don't, it's like I can easily get in my head.
yeah. What gets you mentally healthy, or physically healthy?
Mentally, I mean, just kind of what we were talking about. That like I have a gratitude journal. I try to meditate in the morning. I do have a very busy mind, so that's something that's a little bit hard for me. I'm still kind of learning. But I
Yeah,
really like the gratitude journal, and then something I started practicing. Just to, I mean, realistically to help myself, but I realized I started helping others, and in the process is going out of my way and complimenting a stranger, because something that I noticed is, especially as a female being pretty muscular and like I'm kind of tall and I'm loud, I can appear to be aggressive. Like if you don't know me, you might be like, whoa, like she's alive. I'm not
yeah,
once you get to know me, but a lot of people think that. And so when I'm at the gym, very often I'll just get people that just like stare, or they're just like, and I don't know what they're thinking, but internally I'm like, oh my gosh, like what, they don't like me, whatever. And I get super self-conscious. And so I started making this practice where anytime someone would stare, or like if I saw somebody doing something, they like totally just flipping the script and being like, hey, you look amazing. Like I've never met you. My name's Danielle, and then like throws them off and they're like, oh. Or if I see a girl working out really hard, I'll go up to her and be like, wow, you're doing really good, and like it's cool because a lot of times there's so much positive feedback, and then you can start
right.
relationships that way, and it like breaks down the barriers. So That's kind of helped me a little bit. And then just, yeah, really the gratitude stuff, you know, because when you have a bad day and then you have a bad day and you're not eating enough food, it like compounds it.
Right.
It's like, ugh. So you're like, okay, what am I grateful for today? Like, you know, my health is good. I have a house. I have, you know, whatever. So that, I think that helps.
With the staring, like usually, this times I've seen women with muscles and stuff, and it's not like a negative thing. It's you fascinating, because
Yeah.
there's guys that they dig women with muscles, like my man Rolando, you
Yeah.
know. And so yeah, so like what was gonna ask so you're married, and how does your husband support you, like in bodybuilding?
He started competing too, actually. He started
Oh
asking, you know,
yeah.
yeah, so he let me do one. And he's like, let's see how this goes. And then the next one he did with me. And then he did the San Diego show with me in June. And he qualified to go to nationals, but he was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a year or two off because the guys at nationals are just so much bigger that he's like, I don't want to jump on stage and lose.
Oh
So it is hard. Like a lot of people have asked me, like, how is it when two people are on prep the whole time? And like, I don't know. There's like pros and cons to it because if I'm on prep and I'm like really minimal calories and I'm at the gym all the time and I'm high anxiety because of everything and he's not, and then I'm sitting there watching him eat a cupcake, I'm like, like I just want to eat. So like that part's hard. When we're both on prep together and we're both not sleeping and we're both a little irritable, that can be hard too. But I feel like it's easier because like if he gets snappy at me or something, I know I'm like, okay, it's just the low food, like it's okay, and try to like remember that it's not personal. So
yeah, yeah. Like did you see like the other shows from the past months or anything like that? The
no,
competitions or
oh, you mean the last competitions?
the master overall.
So only online. I'm actually going to a show next weekend. Our mutual friend Bailey is competing, and he looks sick. It's his first competition, and I'm so excited to see him jump on stage. So I'll be there. That's in San Diego, and then I went to a couple before I went to nationals to support some friends and
Yeah,
other athletes. So I it's kind of fun being in the crowd because you're just like, I understand what it's like being up there, but I can just chill.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What? So you're an Eagles fan too? Yeah,
Yeah,
you like the
my
Eagles?
husband's from Philly, so he's out there watching the game right now. So I kind of got roped into that.
Yeah, I stopped watching football like in the '90s.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll look at basketball a little bit, but not as much. Yeah. So I
that's
I play basketball a little bit, but
that's cool.
yeah, yeah. So you're a plant based. You have like a plant based diet. How does that work for you?
So it's funny. Back in it's evolved a little bit. In 2015, I first went vegan, like fully, like raw vegan, like, and that was all because I actually had a cancer diagnosis. I had thyroid
Yeah, I've
cancer.
read. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like in the middle of college, like it was finals week, everything was crazy. I find out I have thyroid cancer, and at this point, I don't know anything about it. Like I just hear the word cancer, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So, I was waiting to get surgery done. I was on a list to go get surgery, and during that time, I start researching, and maybe that was good or bad, I don't know. But it starts, I start finding all these things, and one of the things was saying that animal products are high acidity, and that they can contribute to cancer cell growth. So I don't see your video. Are you still there? I think your camera just cut out. I guess I'll just finish my story. So yeah, I ended up going completely vegan and I went raw vegan in the beginning.
Shit.
You're coming back. There you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know
No, it's
what the hell happened. This
that's
phone.
okay. I was like, oh, I guess I'll just keep talking. I think it's still
Thank
on.
you. Thank you for keep talking. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you probably didn't hear that, but yeah, so I ended up getting the cancer diagnosis. I went fully like raw vegan because I started finding all these documents, these medical journals online talking about how high acid diets can lead to overgrowth of cancer cells. and meat and dairy happened to be pretty high in acid. So I was like, okay, I don't know much else. Like I have a little bit of a background in nutrition. I'm just going to cut out everything until my surgery and we'll see what happens. So I ended up having surgery. Everything's fine. Like it was one of the easiest surgeries. They just like cut a little slit and they only had to take out half. So I'm on thyroid medication. It hasn't been back since. And then for like, I want to say it was maybe like 7 years, I was completely vegan. And that was mostly because I had learned so much about the animals. Like I was just like, I am like an animal lover. Like I just can't do this anymore. I've seen too much. But then, gosh, I don't know. It was a couple years ago. I started having some gut issues, and it was right around the time that I also started bodybuilding. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's diet. I don't know if it's stress from competing. I don't know if it's being in a caloric deficit for too long and stress hormones are up. Like there were so many factors. I was like, I don't really know what's going on. So I started going through this whole journey, which I don't think I've ever really shared this online. But I started going through this whole journey with like, I went to the gastroenterologist, we got a colonoscopy, we did an endoscopy, we did a million allergy panels, and they couldn't really find anything except for in the endoscopy, they found out, which is like, they stick a little camera up your backside. And they found out that I didn't have the enzymes to break down certain sugars. So when people are lactose intolerant, they lack lactase. For me, I was missing isomaltase and sucrase, so I couldn't break down sucrose or isomaltose, which is like found in so many different things, especially starches and carbs. And the vegan diet is very heavy in carbs, so I was just like, oh man, like, and at the time, there's this one medication called Sucrade, but it wasn't approved by insurance. There wasn't really there wasn't a lot of information because it's a pretty rare condition. So I just kind of like dealt with it. And I was like, well, I don't think I can eat meat. Like I still like, it's been so long, but like maybe I can do like boiled eggs from like a farm or something or fish or shrimp or something I didn't feel as bad about. So I started doing that. And it's funny that you asked this because literally like out of nowhere last week, I actually got the approval for the Sucrade medication and they just sent it to me yesterday. So I'm trying it out. But so I guess my point is that I'm starting to go more plant-based. I still have a couple animal products in, but I'm like trying to get back to it more because I did overall feel better other than like the gut issues I was having. So I don't know. I feel like our human bodies are so complex and there's so many things that can be so different from person to person. It's just like, I don't think there's like one diet fits all or one plan fits all. And I'm kind of learning a lot about that with my own journey.
Yeah, because there's moments where I'll ask some bodybuilders, do you do vegan or would you try vegan? They'd be like, nah. They'll give you the negative. Yeah, like yeah, I have a friend. His name is All the Rage George Page. He curses me out every time I talk about that. And he do like female bodybuilder content. So I think you're like one of the few that you know and that's a vegan and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
there's
used
not
to,
many of us. I know there's a girl out here that is. There's one that's in Arizona that I met in Vegas. That my boy John, his name is John Thomas. He literally goes on Instagram. He's the bodybuilding vegan, and he's like
yeah,
hardcore like animal activist, but he's like a big dude too. So he's actually competing in I want to say like 6 weeks. So it's kind of, there's not very many of us for sure. And I think most of them have probably stayed vegan through their whole journey. And, mine was a little bit different, but yeah, it's not common.
yeah. I remember I asked the bodybuilder that, and she felt that, in her opinion, they feel they look malnourished or any something, and I'm like, okay,
Sometimes, I feel like with any diet, if you take it to the extreme, it's like some of these vegans I
yeah,
remember watching on YouTube or whatever that would just like literally only eat bananas all day or eat potatoes all day or whatever. And it's like, well, your nutrients should be coming from your food sources. And if you're only eating the same thing all day, you're not getting the full range of nutrients. But it can go the other way too. Then you have people like, I personally don't think keto is very healthy at all. Most
what's that
bodybuilders do
keto?
it. Huh?
What's keto? I don't.
Keto is like no carb diet. So
Oh,
most
okay.
of us do it the last like week before a show because carbs do hold on to some water in your body. And so, if you're not eating any carbs, it helps flush out some of the water. But some people do it as like a weight loss program. And like when keto was first developed, it was under the name Atkins way back in the day. I'm sure you remember back in like the 80s, I think. And it does promote weight loss, but the weight is coming from water. It's not fat loss. So the second you get off of it, you're back on. And the problem with keto is that you're not getting any fiber because you're not eating any plants. You're not getting those phytonutrients. So unless you're taking a supplement or a multivitamin, you're missing out on a lot of that stuff. And like if you're just losing the water weight, like it's just gonna all come back when you start eating carbs again. So I'm not a fan of keto. I've heard a few people like it, but I don't think like it was never meant to be a long-term diet. It was supposed to be a diet that would like help you shred some weight for say a wedding or a photo shoot or something, and then you would get back onto a normal diet again. So I'm just a full believer in eating a range of fruits, vegetables. If you have meat in your diet, cool. I'm a little weird about the dairy thing. I think I don't know. Some people, there's a lot of good studies about it, but my opinion is that it's a lactating animal, and like that cow is giving breast milk, and like there's no other species that drinks another species breast milk. So it's like it's a little funny to be a human still drinking breast milk, but and there's really high levels of what's called casomorphine in the milk, which is it's just a hormone, but it's what attracts the baby cow to the mom so that they keep weaning. And I'm like, well, if a human's having that, then like, then we get literally like addicted. Like people say, oh, I'm addicted to cheese. I'm like, yeah, you actually kind of are, because there's like little almost like little pieces of like opiates, in it to keep people eating it. So I don't know. I'm very open-minded though. Like I'm not one of those people that's just like, oh no, you're wrong, I'm right. Like I'm still learning so many things, but it's like, this is what I've come up with.
I notice a lot of meat eaters kind of like get on vegan or vegetarians, and then it's like the vice versa too.
I
So
know. And I don't like that. Like and I understand like the vegans are passionate, especially the ones that have like seen the animal cruelty. Like I get it. If I feel the same way internally, like when it's like, well, I'm not aggressive, but like I think about it in a way of like, oh man, like that was a little baby lamb or something, like that sucks. But I don't voice it. Like I get where they're coming from, but it's like that's not how you get people to like get on your side. Like if your whole goal is to save animals, maybe you should stop attacking meat eaters,
right, right, right. I used to be vegetarian like years ago. This like maybe towards like 20 years. I stopped though years ago. And the reason why I started because, I was in my 20s, and, I got a checkup from the doctor, and he was saying, for somebody your age, your cholesterol is high.
Yeah.
So I would try to read about like what foods to eat better. Maybe I need to cut down the meat and stuff.
Yeah.
And like during like the duration, I was trying to be a vegan. It was like I was getting real skinny, and people, and, like my friends and my family, they would get on me like, "Yo, you need to eat some meat or something." And I was just still learning. And then, slowly I kind of came back to the chicken and meat and stuff. Yeah. So,
Well, I will say
but
that
then, no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go
that's
ahead.
one thing I think happens a lot, and I don't necessarily think it's because you're switching to a vegan diet. I think what ends up happening is because a vegan diet is so well, and I'm talking about non-processed here, by the way. I'm not a fan of like those Beyond Burgers and all those things, but if you're eating like a whole food vegan diet, so grains and vegetables and fruit and all that kind of stuff, you can get a lot more volume for the calories. So like this, a salad this big with, obviously not ranch dressing or anything, but something really light on it that's like 200 calories, or you can have like a little piece of chicken that's 200 calories. Now, obviously the protein is not the same in both of those, but I guess my point is when you're eating a lot more plants, it fills up your stomach a lot more. And so a lot of people tend to not eat enough calories. And so I think that's where a lot of the weight loss comes from, maybe more so than not having enough protein, but I'm sure there's a little bit of both, or like everybody's case is probably a little different, but I've seen that a lot.
Mm. Okay. And you're like a certified trainer? How
Yeah,
long?
so that's kind of funny. I was training people a couple years ago, and I took it off when I had started real estate because I was just coaching training normal people at a gym, and like
Mm.
it just it wasn't as fulfilling for me because nobody would stick to it. Like they would come in, do their little half-hour session, they'd go home, and I'd follow some of them
Mm,
on Instagram, and I'd see them drinking on the weekends and eating McDonald's, and I'm like, if you want to change your lifestyle, like you have to change your lifestyle, like you can't just come in here for 30 minutes 3 days a week and then go eat whatever you want and think there's going to be a change. Like there's not. It takes a really long
right.
time to lose weight, especially if you're not doing activities outside of that. So I backed away from that, but then now, like when I restarted the coaching, I'm like, okay, I'll take on normal people, but I really want to focus on competitors. Like I want to be able to get them to a show. I want to be able to watch their show, like, and help them. I've been through so many things in my own experience that I'm like, okay, I think we can work through a lot of this stuff. And, I still have a coach that has a coach. And so it's like, I always have people to go to with questions. So it's kind of cool. I like it. I'm taking it pretty slow right now since my competition's in 3 weeks. So I'm not saying no to new clients, but I'm not really advertising it as much. But then after this show, I'm like, all right, let's go.
Oh, so basically you mostly do like competitors than like average people.
Yeah, that's my goal. Like I would still take on average people, but I let people know, like, all right, like I'm not gonna write you a whole meal plan unless that's something you want to pay a little extra for. But like we gotta cut out the drinking. Like we gotta cut out the fast food. Like has to be like your new life. Like you basically have to decide, like, okay, I want to lose 30 pounds of fat. Cool. This is what you have to do. And if you follow it, it'll work. But like if you're cheating on your stuff, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, your body is like a machine because it shuts down. It's like keep put the certain things that's not really healthy for you eventually, and then you gotta watch the amount of like the sugar, the fats, and cholesterol and all that stuff.
Well, that's what's hard too, is if you take a pretty healthy individual, like someone like me, and I go eat a dozen donuts, it's not going to do much for me. Like, of course, it's going to spike blood glucose levels a little bit, but like, it's not going to harm me really. Like, is it good for me? No, but I'm not going to have something bad. Now, you give a box of donuts to a diabetic, they might have a
Yeah,
major attack, like it's going to be a major issue for them. And so I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize too, is like it might just start out with like the only condition you're having is like some excess body fat. Okay, cool, that's a personal preference at a certain point, but once you cross a certain line where you're like, now you're starting to have heart disease, now you have type 2 diabetes, now you have hypertension, now whatever, and now you're requiring medication. Well, those medications have side effects, and just being on a lifetime supply of medication, and then now you're more tired because you're heavy and you can't move yourself around, and now your joints hurt, and it's like it just compiles. And so it's hard for me because I absolutely have no hate towards anybody because of their body or anything like that, but I don't think a lot of people understand, especially the long-term dangers of being obese. Like you might get away with it in your 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, but when you start getting 50, 60, 70, and you start having these other issues, and it's like now you can't even walk, but then there's 90-year-old people that are running around, still doing pretty healthy. It's like, I guess you just kind of got to pick. Do you want to indulge in everything now and have a shorter or more miserable life? Or do you want to have some discipline now and hope to have a greater life later? So, I mean, I'm sure it's hard. I've never been obese. So, a lot of my family is. And I think that's what really motivated me to not, is because I saw everybody else getting really big and having a lot of problems. So, it's hard, especially post COVID. Like I
yeah.
feel like everybody gained a lot of weight.
I remember, like in my teens, I was big, like 215 pounds.
Oh wow.
And because of that, it was because of medication and stuff. I was acting out and all that stuff as a teenager, and
Oh.
then and certain things I couldn't like move around too much, or didn't have that much mobility, and so I would kind of like play basketball. I wasn't good at it, and like I noticed that every time I would play, I'd be sweaty, and I started losing weight gradually.
That's cool. And that's my biggest thing. Like people that are really struggling with weight loss, like people that are, could lose 100 pounds or something, that are really above the normal obesity level. Like my biggest advice is just start moving,
Yeah,
start making food. Like if you just drop the fast food and start walking every day, you're going to lose a lot of weight really quick. And then after that, there can be little changes. Like, I think sometimes when people get to a point that they're extremely obese, it seems almost unattainable to get into a normal shape. So they just kind of give up because it's too much. But it's like, don't set this goal. I mean, sure, set a goal of 100 pounds. You want to lose 100 pounds, but like, don't make that goal in the next, 8 months or something. It's like, that's just the end goal. We won't even put a date on it. For this month, let's go for 10 pounds. Let's go for, maybe we're not even talking about weight. Maybe it's just like, cut out the soda, no more soda, and then make these little progressions, and over time. And then when you start feeling better too, and you're like, oh, this is working, what else can I do? I think that's where a lot of people start to see success, but it is really hard. You were saying that you were obese as a kid. When people start off that way, like it's even harder for them to change later in life, because these ideas have already been ingrained in their head. And there might have been some bullying at school because of it. And there are other issues that end up coming up. Maybe people end up getting insecure over it. So it does make it a lot harder. And then if they're like married to someone who's also obese, the lifestyle is similar. It's like, hey babe, like I'm going on this journey to lose weight, and she's cooking up fried chicken in the kitchen. It's going to be a little hard to do it unless you're both on board. So I understand the struggles, but man, like, you got to think about health and longevity.
Yeah, sometimes, I work, and they have like a vending machine,
Mm-hmm.
and so I go on breaks and stuff, like 20-minute break, and then they have that vending machine, but that's the only thing I could obtain.
Yeah.
I'll get like a ginger ale or something like that, then
Yeah.
other than other sodas and stuff, and then like maybe, I'm not gonna lie, chips and
Yeah.
cookies and stuff.
Right
you
there.
know yeah, so I mean, it can be tough on the situation.
I
I
agree.
Yeah, because and even I used to work at McDonald's like somewhere last year, and I would see like the same people come
Yeah.
again, like every day. Like even high school kids, like they would just the high school kids. I don't know. It may not be so much of a problem unless if they get older. But it was like the adults too. Like they would always come there like every day, the same people, and
Yeah.
that's a lot. And the stuff they put, is like grease and
Hmm.
all kind of stuff.
And that gets expensive too. It's like, even if you're
Yeah,
buying on the cheaper menu at McDonald's, you're spending what, 10, 15 bucks when you go in there. And if you're doing that every day, like, people
yeah,
say, oh, I don't have time for meal prep, or, I don't have the money for meal prep. I'm like, if you actually break down the cost, depending on what you're eating, but most of the
it's
time, each
expensive.
meal, yeah, it's going to only be like $1 or $2. And sure,
Yeah.
it's a little bit inconvenient. So I actually saw this analogy online, which I thought was really cool. So this guy was saying, okay, so say you go to the drive-through, right? Because it's quicker. So you drive to the drive-through from your work, or take the train or the bus or whatever. You go over there. Say that even if it's only a 10-minute drive, let's even say a 5-minute drive, and you sit in the drive-through. It's okay. Maybe you sit there for another 2 minutes, and it's another 5 minutes back. So we're at 12 minutes already. That's one meal on one day. If you did that 5 days a week, that's already an hour. So that 1 hour, you could have been meal prepping for the entire week, and you're
Mm.
saving, hundreds of dollars. And it's like meal prepping for me, like I usually do it on Sundays. I'll buy all my groceries on Saturday. I'll meal prep everything on Sunday. And it's easier for me right now because I don't really care what I'm eating. I'm just eating the same crap all day because I'm competing soon. But like when I'm in off season, I don't meal prep for every meal all day, but I'll do like my lunches, like whatever I'm going to be taking with me when I'm out on the go. And it saves so much money, and you can actually get like fresh produce that's like, you're chopping your own carrots, and if you're eating meat or whatever, it's like that is from the actual like butcher or the deli or whatever, not this like processed McDonald's type stuff, right? That has all these
Yeah.
carcinogens and everything in it. It's like, I I think where it's hard for me is I think a lot of people were never taught, and you were saying like high school kids come in, and sure, it probably doesn't affect them as much because they're running around, playing sports or whatever. They're not going to gain much weight over it. But when they get so used to just going to McDonald's because it's easy, and then they start doing that 20, 30 years later, then they
Right.
start having
Yeah.
all these problems, or they do it this entire time. So
Right.
that's where I really think that like
Yeah.
starting those habits young.
Yeah. Well, you got Rolando. Wow, Danielle, you are a great
Oh.
coach in health and nutrition. Did you get your degree? Where did you get your degree? And did you get your degree in this?
So I don't have a nutrition or anything degree, but I do have a certificate in nutrition and a certificate, like a personal training certificate, and then I have a plant-based certificate as well. For me, I think, and thank you, by the way, that was really nice. I've just been in the world for so long, and when you have a good coach that teaches you well, and then I actually had my own podcast for about 4 years, and I used to interview it was mostly plant-based, so it was a lot of like vegan and vegetarian athletes and doctors and all kinds of stuff. So I would learn so much from them. It was just like little bits and pieces from people. And I think just over time, just being so immersed in it, it's like, and me competing, so like I'll start learning like, oh, that wasn't very good for my body, or, this, whatever, you get a little more sensitive to those things. And then I just kind of got to a point where I'm like, I want to share with people that are struggling too. And like, even learn from them. Like when I coach a client and they have, something happens that I wasn't expecting. It's like, oh, that was supposed to help you like lose weight. And we just like gained a couple pounds overnight. Okay. You're holding water for some reason. Let's figure this out. What happened? So it's constant learning all the time, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. Curtis L. Jordan, love your
Aw,
makeup and good looks.
thank you.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, you have a lot of nice pictures.
Thank you. I just took those
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, those were taken down in San Diego. That was, gosh, a couple days ago.
What's it like working with Sean Nelson?
Dude, Sean's awesome. He's
Yeah,
from Philadelphia, actually. His birds are on right now, his Eagles. Yeah, that one. I wore an Eagles jersey not knowing he was from Philly. And he's a cool guy. I met him on Instagram, and then we ended up setting up a photo shoot. So
yeah. You
that's
have
cool
any
that you brought this
relationship?
up.
You have any relationship with this lady?
No, she's amazing. So I actually went to a show to watch a friend compete in Orange County a few months ago, and she was up there on the stage. And that woman, I don't want to be misquoted, but I want to say she's like 60 something years old. She's a professor at a college.
Yeah,
In her 60s. Amazing. So her husband was in the crowd. This is before I met them, and I see this like older man, pretty fit older man, that's like, yeah, go Tammy, just screaming, and he's like going off. And so I let him have his thing, and then after he was done screaming, I was like, hey, is that your wife up there? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, like this woman looks amazing. Like for all the people
yeah,
who say, oh, you can't be fit after 50 or 60, I'm like, oh, no, look at her. And
yeah.
so
She looks good.
yeah, like I just had to talk to her. But then it was funny because when she got off stage, somebody went by and they were like, is that your sister? And then somebody else asked if she was my mom. And I was like, no. But then I asked her for her photo. I was like, I want to do a side by side of both of us, because a lot of people have said we look similar, which I think we kind of do, and our bodies are kind of similar. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we look like we could be related, but we're not.
What? Do you see yourself doing bodybuilding like in the long term, or?
No, I'm gonna take some time off for sure after this one. I don't know how much yet, probably a couple years. What's hard is that for females especially, like the industry is so competitive, and in my division, like women's physique, it's like get bigger, get more shredded, get bigger. And you have to take more things to get bigger. And I don't want to be on high level of drugs. Like I see what it does to people. I've had a few female friends that have kind of pushed it a little too far, and they start having like
Mm,
for voice, and they'll start, just a bunch of extra stuff
yeah,
happen. And for me, it's not worth my health and like my looks to push it that hard. And I know my personality, like I like to win, I like to compete. I'm kind of like an all or nothing person. So I'm like, I'm just afraid that if I keep pushing it in the pros, that I'm gonna be like, oh, well, I could just do a little of this. Oh, I could just do it. And then, 2 years go by and I'm like, oh my God, I've completely ruined my body. So that being said, I think I'm gonna take a few years off and just kind of do the coaching thing so that I'm still going to show with competitors and I can still kind of be in the world without completely, being on stage. And then we'll see what happens, because I know the industry is changing a little bit too. They've actually toned down a little bit on how muscular the women are. And I think that's
right.
part of the reason is that they're trying to not push the drugs so hard. So maybe, maybe there'll be like an all natural one later or something. I don't know.
Yeah, this. Yeah, got some more pictures.
Yeah, that was USA's Vegas.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool you put those up there.
yeah, I mean you're my guest, so I gotta be prepared. Talk about your pictures and stuff. You got some nice pictures.
Thank
This
you.
Dragon's Lair. So what's this about? Like this is your gym or
No, that's just a gym in Vegas. It's a bodybuilding gym.
okay?
It's amazing. Anytime I go to Vegas, I always try to stop by there because it's just like the vibe is so different. It's just really like, let's go. Everybody's a bodybuilder there. Most people are. So it's kind of fun because when I walk into a commercial gym, like a 24-hour fitness, I'm like the biggest woman there. I walk into a bodybuilding gym and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of small. So it feels good to have people to look up to.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. So your husband, he works out with you and he trains with you and stuff like that.
Sometimes we usually work out together like once a week max. I personally don't like it as much because I think both of us are so like he wants to help me, I want to help him, and then we're both like, wow, we got it. It works out sometimes, like especially for like chest day or something, you need a spotter on a bench press, like it's great, or like if I'm doing like squats or something. And we've kind of figured out things that work for us. But when we first started working out together, like I was a personal trainer at the time, and he knows a lot. Like I'll give him that. But like
Yeah,
I would be doing something. He's like, "Oh, you need to like straighten your elbow or do this," and I'm like, oh, "Just leave me alone." Like I'm not trying to get coached right now. But we've gotten a little better at that. We just kind of and his schedule's different too. I usually go at like 5 in the morning, and he usually goes after work.
yeah,
So it just works out better. Yeah, it's the same gym, Dragon's Lair.
yeah. What's it like having coaches?
I love it because it holds me accountable. Because so every Saturday I send photos to my coach of like check-in photos. And I know that if I screw up and I eat food I'm not supposed to be eating, it's going to show up in the photos. So it's so funny because some people have asked me, well, like now that you're pro, like why would you need a coach? Like, don't you know what to do? And I'm like, well, yeah, but some of the biggest like billionaires in the world still have coaches. They still have financial coaches helping them make decisions, or like professional athletes still have coaches. They have multiple coaches. I mean, look at like football teams, they have multiple like team coaches and then individual coaches. And for me, the biggest thing is just the accountability of like someone being, or like if something is a little bit off, coach says, okay, try this, or, whatever. So it kind of takes some of the pressure off because I'm like, just tell me what to do. Like, I'll do it.
Yeah, yeah. What, let me see. I just wanna just get the questions right. What had to do? I'm sorry. I wrote down a lot of stuff. So you do like the real estate, you know. How long you been doing that? Like,
So
is
I've
that
had my real estate license for a couple years, but I mean, to be honest, like, especially, I keep on saying this close to show. Brain power is really low this close to show, so I
right?
really try not to stack my plate too high. But I haven't really been doing a lot. Like I'll do some open houses, or like if I have a buyer that's like, "Hey, can we go see this?" Yeah, I'll go do it. But I'm not really searching for anything right now. After my show's over, I plan on jumping into that a little more because there is a potential of a ton of money to be made in real estate, but there's also a potential of making nothing, like if you don't make any sales. So it's kind of a hard place to be in. Like I definitely have the passion for the personal training and the coaching. And sure, if I had 40 clients right now, I'd be making more than a living and everything. I wouldn't really need anything else on the side. But right now, because I just restarted everything, I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a couple home sales as well. So yeah, that's something that I just kind of, I keep my license active. I actually just signed over with a new company because my friend's over there. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna work on a little bit in the next few weeks, and then after show, it's like, all right, let's go. We're gonna start going out there and making some more money. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Like do you like do you are you planning to have your own business or anything like that or?
I mean, maybe with the coaching, I don't know. Like I've kind of thought about it before, but like a long time ago I tried to have my own business. It was like totally different. It was I actually used to do like I used to design little like costumes and outfits and bikinis and stuff like that for women. And I made a lot of stuff. Like I used to sew everything on my own and like decorate everything,
Yeah.
and I would sell it to girls. Like I I really enjoyed it, but it's like some of the process. I mean, you have the option of getting sued if you're not protected. You're responsible for everything. You're paying for a business license. And out here in California, it's like $800 a year to carry on that license. And so it's like, if your income isn't high enough, it doesn't become worth it. And then there's just a lot to it. I will say with training, it's probably a little bit easier because you're only working with like one client at a time. And I don't plan on getting my business license again, even though that does help with tax purposes. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. If it grew big enough, I would, and I would probably start something. But I would almost rather just work independently next to someone. Like if say I was working like next to my coach, or he like sent me a couple clients or something like that, but I'm not like under him and not really running my own, you know, it's, I don't know. Maybe if I had a business coach that we would make a decision with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got like I got a
Time
presentation
under
for you.
tension is a
So
term that refers to the total amount of time a muscle or muscle group is under activation during a set. Increasing the time under tension when working out can lead to hypertrophy or muscle. Today is back day, and I want to show you guys another grip option when doing lat pull downs. This is the V-bar attachment, and it's excellent because it allows you to do pull downs to target your lats, upper back, and biceps.
What's going on, guys? Today we are over at Roll Culture over in San Marcos, and today is chest day, so come on in.
When you first walk in, you'll see the front desk and a ton of supplements to enhance your workout. All of the equipment is brand.
Welcome back, NBC News Online. Patrick Fulgham, two-time Olympian, IFBB Pro with your overall physique and figure. Two-time champion of the night, Danielle Petze. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Have you ever wondered why bodybuilders or people with a lot of muscle seem to be able to eat whatever they want and barely gain any weight? Well, part of the reason is because muscle mass has a higher metabolic rate than fat, which means that the more muscle you have, the more efficient your body is.
That's cool.
yeah, I put it together.
You put
Yeah,
a lot of work into this interview. I appreciate you.
yeah. I try. Yeah. Like with the working out, like what's your workout routine and what's like the body part that you would say that you need improvement on?
Ooh, that's a good question. So workout looks like Monday is like chest and shoulders. Tuesday, it's like usually either arms or back and biceps, so pretty similar. Wednesday and Saturday are like always leg days. And then like Thursday and Friday, it's usually like one back day, one shoulder day, and then Sunday is cardio. And I do cardio every morning, but Sunday is only cardio. It's kind of like a rest day. Like someday, like today, I didn't even do cardio. I'm just taking it off because it's been a long week. But and then what was the other part of the question?
What did I ask you? What's the body part that you would have to work on?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So the really cool thing about competing is after you get off stage, you can go talk to the judges and ask them like, what do you need improvement on? I feel like I kind of already knew,
Yeah.
but mine is my lats. Like I've always had, like I have a pretty good upper back. My traps are pretty big. My shoulders are decent. My lower back is pretty lean, but for some reason, and I don't know if it's muscle development or the posing is just hard, but like when you do this pose where you pull your arms up, your lats are supposed to come out and mine don't come out that much. So
Oh,
that's been a little more difficult, but we've been working on that. Me and my coach have been working on that a lot recently. So hoping we can bring something a little better to this stage.
yeah. I mean, like you've been just doing it for like a couple of years. I mean, it
Exactly.
takes time. How old are you? You don't mind me asking?
Oh,
Like,
I don't mind. So my birthday is September 20th. I'll be 37.
oh, okay, okay. Well, you're like 10 years younger than me, so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, but you're still. I noticed that when when the bodybuilders, it takes time for them to kind of build that muscularity and
Exactly.
yeah, and they look nice. Like I would say like in their 40s or 50s, some even 60s. They
Yeah.
look good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's that's another interesting thing that I've kind of learned is just like Like, it's not, I mean, now some people are just super gifted with genetics and they're just phenomenal. Like Chris Bumstead is like one of them that I feel like, yeah, of course he works hard, but his body is just so symmetrical and everything just looks amazing that my opinion, I could
Right.
be wrong, but my opinion is that like he works hard and he gets those results. But then there's some people like me that I'm like, okay, I work really hard, but then like this is lacking, or, this, maybe my traps are a little too big and we need to tone that down a little. And it's been this kind of like experiment almost of like, okay, well the judges want this now, so we got to adjust this a little bit, and it's always just kind of building upon the last show to hopefully be better for the next one.
Yeah, is that frustrating? Like, just
Yeah, sometimes
yeah.
it can be, because you're just kind of like, damn, like maybe, say you don't get first place, and it's like, gosh, if this one body part, like I went through all this prep and all this suffering and all this money, and then it's like, oh, I didn't win because my shoulders weren't big enough. Like that sucks. I all those
Yeah.
times I thought about, or like not being lean enough. And it's like those nights where you're like, I don't want to go do extra cardio, and you don't. And then you get on stage and you're not lean enough. There's always that question in the back of your mind, like, what if I did those extra cardio days, that I didn't want to do? So I don't know. It's
Well,
pretty harsh sometimes, but to be honest, it kind of like, it's also motivating, because it's like, there's not very many people that compete or that make it to higher level competitions compared to the rest of the world. So like, okay, we're in like a small class of people.
yeah. Is there like a female bodybuilder that you really admire? Like you like watching?
Yeah, I started watching Natalia Coelho. She's
Yeah.
what is she, Brazilian, I believe. She's women's physique, so it's the same
Yeah.
category as me. And then there's another girl, Sarah. God, why am I blanking on her last name? They're actually, I just found out they didn't like each other. I didn't know that. I've never met them in
Oh
person.
no.
But I saw a little back and forth going on one of the posts, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that, but whatever. But they're both
Mhm.
women's physique. They're both pro. Natalia, like, so this is what's funny. I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this woman is huge, like mad props. Like I know what kind of work that must have taken and how much time she put in. And she's still got a really pretty face, which is great. Like a lot of times, a
Right.
lot of the female bodybuilders or women's physique, they start getting a little too masculine. But then I think the other side where I'm like, okay, that's what I have to look like in order to make it to her level, right? And I don't know if even like that amount of muscle tone, like that's a lot for your body to carry. That's a lot for your heart to pump blood through. Like that can be really hard on your joints. And there's a lot of stuff that's where I'm kind of like, this way I want to take a couple of years off and kind of reanalyze and see if I want to come back and still do it, or if I do, maybe go to a smaller category. I don't know yet, but yeah. Natalia is definitely one that I'm like, mad props.
Yeah. Somebody had told me that like at to a certain point, it like having muscles, like it's a lot on you.
It
It's
is.
it could be uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
It's heavy because you got to think about it, whether it's muscle or fat. If you're carrying around that extra weight, you're still carrying around that extra weight. Now, carrying around extra muscle in some areas can be easier because it gives you more strength to do so. But at the same time, it's also requiring more blood flow going through. Heart rate goes up because of that. Like joints hurt because you
Mm.
always have to push so hard to get your muscles that big. So even me, who's like obviously like nowhere near some of these like Mr. Olympias or whatever, I start noticing some things that I'm like, oh wow, like even just sometimes running upstairs or something, or it can hurt my joints, or I just get out of breath really easily, and I'm like, dang, like I'm lean, but I'm like 165 pounds, so I'm like, for a female, like
Mm.
it's kind of a lot of weight, and I can't imagine what that would be like if I
Yeah.
kept getting bigger.
Yeah. I remember this is bodybuilder I know. Her name is Michelle Fastida. She
Okay.
used to she used to compete years ago. And she told me that, there was one time she would like lose her muscles and she didn't feel right. So like she was like average, and then she started working out again and she felt a little better. I don't know. It's like I guess
I'm a little
everybody's
afraid of
different.
that.
Yeah, everybody's different. You ain't got no intentions of getting bigger, do you?
Bigger, probably not. But this is the sad thing too, is like just what you were saying. There's also a little fear in me. Like I like the fact that I have muscle. So there is a little
Yeah.
fear in me that's like, okay, if I back away from this whole thing and I just kind of become like a regular person, is that gonna make me like, feel weird or not like it? I don't know. It's hard. I
Yeah,
guess we'll see what happens. The good thing is you can always change it, I guess. But
yeah, yeah. Any departing words? Well,
no, like just thank you for having me on here. It was cool talking to you. I appreciate you having a channel.
no doubt, man. Oh yeah, yeah. I noticed that you have other social media outlets. You have Instagram, you have TikTok, you have what else you got?
I have
Facebook
a
and stuff.
Facebook. I don't really use it that much. And then TikTok's
No.
funny. Like I created that account a while ago, but I was like never posting on there. And I just recently started posting some videos because I was like, whatever, I might as well like broadcast myself everywhere. So yeah, TikTok and Instagram are the same. They're both the IFBB Pro Danielle Petze, but I don't even know what my Facebook is. I don't use it that much.
Yeah, I mean, like you seem like you have like potential of. You said you do your own podcast. Maybe you could interview other bodybuilders or something. Because
I
there's
know.
bodybuilders that do, interview people and stuff.
I
It's just a
know.
thought. Yeah,
I've thought about it because I do enjoy it. It is fun.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll start doing like just mini ones and see what happens.
You seem like a natural speaker. I'm not a natural. I struggle in talking at times.
But you
Reason
do
why I do it.
great.
Yeah, I'm okay. I appreciate, I appreciate it. I do it because I like the muscle women. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I appreciate you like stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something that is not maybe
yeah.
100% what you're used to doing, but I think it's great. You do a really good interview. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, all right, guys. I mean, it's a wrap. So